Welcome to the Radically Genuine podcast. I am Dr. Roger McFillin. Today, we are going to have a critical conversation about the future of our children and, by extension, our society. Today, we're taking a hard look at our education system that I believe is failing on multiple fronts. On one hand, we're still struggling with outdated methods that prioritize rote memorization over genuine understanding, critical thinking, problem solving. I think we're stuck in a paradigm that values standardized test scores over what really matters as far as, its application to a society as being an innovator and a creator. But while we've been focused on many of these long-standing issues, it seems like a new threat has somewhat emerged, certainly more visible over the past 4 or 5 years, but has probably been creeping in to the public education system, as well as the training of teachers for probably a good 20, 25 years or even more. Our schools, intended to be crucibles of free thought and intellectual growth, are increasingly becoming instruments of social engineering. Under the banner of progress, we're seeing the rise of ideological indoctrination that threatens the very essence of independent and critical thought. The result? We're producing a generation ill-equipped to face real-world challenges. Many can recite facts, but struggle to analyze them critically. They're taught what to think rather than how to think. And alarmingly, many are more adept at spotting perceived offenses than solving actual problems. Even when you think about how we teach history in public school systems, there's a bit of an indoctrination in the things that we focus on and we're told to have to regurgitate and remember. It doesn't allow for us to really critically analyze the decisions of leaders of the past to best inform future decision making. I think that's purposeful. But here's the real danger. This combination of rote learning and ideological programming is eroding the foundation of a free society. Without the ability to challenge authority, to think critically and independently, how can we expect our youth to maintain and defend the freedoms we hold dear? Today, we're going to be challenging the status quo. We'll explore how our children are far more capable than maybe current educational approaches give them credit for. We'll dissect how misapplied concepts of mental health and social justice are handicapping true critical thinking. We'll certainly explore practical solutions from the power of Socratic dialogue to lessons we can learn from educational models around the world. In my opinion, the value of true freedom becomes apparent when we understand both its presence and its absence. A lesson vividly illustrated by the experiences of Latin American immigrants, teachers, and those who have witnessed their governments devolve into totalitarianism and under the guise of Marxist ideology. These individual stories reveal how freedom shapes every aspect of our lives, from personal choices to societal progress. Equally crucial to preserving this freedom is the power of critical thinking and the ability to challenge authority, skills that act as a shield against the erosion of democratic values. By fostering these abilities in our educational systems, we equip future generation with tools to recognize and resist threats to liberty, whether overt or subtle, and many of them are subtle. This approach, understanding the cost of lost freedom through others' experiences while actively cultivating the intellectual means to protect it, creates a robust defense against authoritarian encroachment. It ensures that we not only appreciate our freedoms, but also possess the capacity to maintain them, learning from history while actively shaping a future where liberty thrives through informed critical engagement with power structures. To enter this critical discussion today, I want to welcome back Kel Wetherhold to the Radically Genuine podcast. He's an award-winning public school teacher. He's an OG, original Radically Genuine host and producer. So those who have been with us from the beginning will remember these back and forths between Kel and my brother. Really over the past year, he's been behind the scenes with us. Kel, welcome back to the podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
What I love about Kelly is he and I did work together in the school system years ago, and he was always an innovator. He was always challenging the status quo. He's a critical thinker, and it's led to him receiving multiple awards. So I'm really interested in his perspective combined with our other guest today, which is Daniel Herbruger, a Guatemalan-American who's founded critical thinking schooling as a collaborative learning method, where through systematic dialogue, premises are examined, questions are raised, and kids are helped to reflect upon what they say and think it's a different approach. And that can only come from somebody, in my opinion, who understands maybe the costs of freedom lost. He taught at Francisco Marroquin University in Guatemala, which is known as the University of Free Marketeers. He's been featured on Telemunda and other programs. Daniel, welcome to the Radically Genuine podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger. And thank you, Kel. I'm excited to be here and grateful for the opportunity.
Glad to have you here. I want to first identify the problem. I'm going to start with Kel before I bring you in, Daniel. Kel, you and I have had these questions, over the years about like, what is education, right? How do you really genuinely prepare somebody to function in a world independently? Curious what you have observed within the public school system over the past 20, 25 years. I think you've been in it for
25 years. And so 25 years, I've seen, I see the messages I think are correct, where you have a lot of teachers that say the right things, but then the system itself does not allow for some of these teachers to be able to take the risks that they need to create independent thought. So when you ask me what's changed, what I'm seeing, at least on my end, I mean, I don't speak for all teachers, I'm seeing a lot more dependency on the system, a lot more dependency on teachers to give the answers instead of the kids trying to figure things out, and a lot of them are afraid because of the grading system, the failing and the grading system itself. So it's a systemic issue when you say we want all of our public school kids to be independent thinkers. And again, the message that resonates with most teachers is they believe they're doing that. The vast majority of our public school teachers are amazing, and they really do believe they're doing that. I just believe that the system itself does not necessarily allow for that to happen.
Okay, let me bring in Daniel. Dan, if you can just kind of introduce yourself to extent of like how you got to this position in your life and how you started this critical thinking schooling. Anything about your history that can allow us to understand why you chose to go in this direction in your life?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of aspects of, I guess, my background that brought me into education. But sadly, it all started because my brother had a car accident when he was 16. And this was in Guatemala. That was over 20 years ago. And to this day, he's still recovering. He was in basically a car accident, a bunch of teenagers after a party, alcohol was involved, rainy day, what usually happens. And the reason this got me started is because teachers gave up on him. He was the rowdy student. We did attend an American school in Guatemala, very strict, very, very formal, if you will. I think it was a great school. But they gave up on him. And, coming from a business owning family in Guatemala, most teachers kind of resented my brother because their thought process was, this kid is able to misbehave because he's just going to go into the family business right after. And so he acted accordingly. After going through the accident, I started majoring in journalism at Francisco Marroquin University. As you mentioned, it is known as the University of Free Marketeers. I mean, who would expect that in Guatemala? We've had even Senator Rand Paul come visit. Hayek, Mises, Friedman, they've all come to, obviously when they were alive, they've come to Francisco Marroquin University. Even Dr. Larry Arnn from Hillsdale College has received an honorary degree from Francisco Marroquin University. But in college, I was given the opportunity to attend a seminar on Socratic practice, on Socratic dialogue, essentially. And after having experienced the tragedy of my brother's accident, because there was a brain injury, trauma 4 or 5, so to this day he has limited mobility, I was always wondering what the purpose of education was. And it was through the Socratic practice program that I learned to think critically and to really become a lifelong learner and to appreciate that. And what really got me started was when I finished that course, I told my professor, Albert Loan, who's actually from New York, I told him, if we teach students to think critically in college, it's way too late. Like we have to start at a younger age, if you will. And so that's what got me started. And as an educator, I am just passionate about merging my experience growing up in Guatemala and having some of that family business experience with the principles that can help students become critical thinkers in the classroom.
What brought you to the United States?
We just have opportunities here, and just being Guatemalan-American, we have the opportunity to take care of some stuff here in the United States, having to do with entrepreneurship and real estate.
So you saw it as an opportunity to grow your business, to be in a free society. Many people view immigration to the United States as the opportunity for upward mobility.
Yes. And I think what I'll add to it is, I guess I'll break a paradigm here. Guatemala is a thriving country. The middle class in Guatemala has been growing tremendously. And what the media is reporting is not really what's happening. There is a thriving middle class. Now, thankfully, the thriving middle class has risen because a lot of remittances have gone back to Guatemala from the United States over the past 30 years or so. And so that's one of those things that I think, based on my experience, I can kind of bring to the conversation that we think that the best practices, especially in terms of education, are going from the United States to every other country. I think based on what's been happening in the education world these days, it's actually the other way around, because it feels like a lot of what I've learned in schools in Guatemala are things that have served me well in schools here in the United States, just in terms of the rigor, the discipline, and also the ability to nurture critical thinking, which, as Kel said, I mean, that's a lot of teachers say they are doing so, but it is the system that is not allowing it to happen. And one thing I'll share as like probably the most shocking thing that most parents can learn from this conversation is I was, when I got into the ed world here in the United States, I was shocked to see how socialized education is in the United States. The United States has the most socialized education system in the world. And I will say Guatemala is a much more free market and free education system than it is in the United States. And that is because in Guatemala, most of the good schools are private schools, and those go from like $10 a month tuition to $2,000 a month tuition. So you have the entire repertoire of options. And parents do not even hesitate to go into private education. So government is so inefficient, in a good way, I guess, that essentially, by being left out, they have lost track of the ability to control schools as much as they do here in the States. So to me, that was an aha moment, just seeing how indoctrinated society is to the idea that teachers have to be certified, the idea that you have to go to a public school. Even me coming in here, having taught for 8 years at the university level, I would tell people, I'm a teacher, I'm a professor. And they would say, but you're not certified by the state of Texas. And so to me, that was a shocker. And that just speaks about how indoctrinated people are. My brother, he's a genius in engineering, running factory lines. He would not be allowed to teach a group of middle school students a class on engineering. Like, no way. And that speaks volumes of what's happening in our education world.
Yeah. And in some cases, we're taking individuals that are experts in their field that actually want to help, the youth. And we're saying you can't do it because you have to go through this program. Sometimes they're 2, 3, 4-year programs just to get a certification. So I'm with you on that. I don't get it.
Well, I think it begs the question that is there this illusion of freedom that exists in the United States that's kind of more presented by the media than an actual reality? And so I want to get your thought on this because, I know Central America, Latin America, there's been, various uprisings and political ideologies based on countries with a lot of Marxist, communist, and totalitarian kind of viewpoints. And a lot of people who have had to experience that and understand what a society looks like are now acutely aware of some of the mass conditioning that's happening in the United States. So Daniel, I want to get your outsider perspective on what you see is currently happening culturally and politically here in the United States.